Hi, this is Carol with the Funeral Program site, and today I'm going to show you how to expertly remove a background in Photoshop for a photo that you may want to use on the front cover of a funeral program template. So I am going to be demonstrating this on the Mac, and I do have Photoshop version CS5, and that's what I'll be working in, but this certainly can apply to a Windows-based computer running Photoshop as well. I'm not sure if Elements will do the same thing, Photoshop Elements. As I don't use it much, I only use the full version of Photoshop, but if you have it, you can see if the tools are the same and if the procedure is similar. So here we go. I'm going to be using this photograph right here, and it could be any photograph of your loved one. This one I just downloaded from the internet. It's not a paid. It's a sample, which is why it's got all the watermarks on top of this photo. But I just wanted to use it for demonstration purposes. I didn't pay for this because I'm not using it on any of my templates or anything. So you're gonna take a look at your photo that you want to insert. Make sure you put it on your desktop. You're going to open up Photoshop, which I already have open here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this photo in Photoshop. That's the first thing you're going to do. When you open it up in Photoshop, you're going to see this background is locked. So you are going to double click it to unlock it. And then this pop-up comes up and you're just going to hit OK. So then now you've got the layer unlocked, and I always like to create a new layer on the bottom of it just so I can see what I'm doing when I'm removing the background. And I'm just going to fill it with a color, actually a dark color or any other color besides white is best. So I'm going to drag that solid color and put it behind my photo. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the photo layer and I'm going to create a mask. So here's the mask right here. And then I'm going to go over here to my tools palette and select the brush. And make sure after you select the brush, look how big it is. It's too big to go around this background. I'll hit the photo for sure. So I'm going to size down my brush to something that is workable. This looks like pretty good size to me. And I always like to start with a medium hardness. So right around 50, 54, something like that. Now in order to remove this background, you're going to select the mask layer. Then you're going to come over to your brush and make sure it's on the black. It's on a black color, because black will remove and white will reveal. So we're going to remove. So black is the paint color I'm going to be using. So then once you do that and your mask is selected, you're just going to go over it, all the background that you want to remove, which is what I'm doing now. What I like to do is I like to remove the background and just leave a little space around the photo. I'll come back and get that later, but right now we're getting rid of the majority of the background first, which is what I'm doing with the medium brush. So you're going to leave a little edge around the photo itself, and then we'll come back and touch that up later. Okay, so I have done that, and the blue, of course, is the solid layer underneath the photo. That's why it's nice to have a color background behind that, because if you didn't, then you have this. And a lot of times when I do just have that, I miss a lot of the erasing of the background. There's little fine points that I end up missing because it's hard to see. So put that back on. And then now what I'm going to do is once I remove the majority of the background, I'm going to make my brush smaller. And I'm going to soften the brush edges a little bit. So I'm going to come down half of that 50 to about 25. So here's my brush now. It's a little half the size now. And now I'm going to go in and I'm just going to get closer to the photo. And it's really important that you try to get, especially when all these fine hairs that are sticking up. That's kind of difficult sometimes depending on the photo, but you know, you're not going to get every single drop of hair. So I kind of just do my best. If I miss some strands, that's okay. It just looks like he's got a nice haircut. And usually the family appreciates it as long as he still looks neat and trim. Okay, so there's the hair, and then now I'm going around his ears. And sometimes if the brush is too big to get into these fine little crevices, then just wait and go back and get those later. Now, I only like to use the soften brush around the hairline. Once you start getting into the shoulders, you're going to want to harden your brush. So to about 75%. And I'm going to go ahead and make my brush even smaller so I can get around these crevices. It's really important that you use the harder brush around the shoulders because it really doesn't need a soft brush there. So looks like I've got everything, and that looks pretty good. Now if you want to go back and say like right around here it looks a little too soft, I'm going to go back to my tools palette and I'm going to select the white to reveal. And then I'm going to go in here and make my brush harder. So, and then just go back over that section and it will harden it back up. And if you reveal too much like that, just go back and change your brush to black or to color to black and just go back over it finely. Okay. So that looks pretty good. And I've done all around his shoulders. I'm pretty happy with it. There's a little area right here that needs to be cleaned up. And you can just zoom in and make your brush smaller, even still, so you can get inside that crevice right here. And if sometimes I like to go past it and then go back and reveal just the area that needs to, so you can get into the fine. I find that works pretty well, so that you can get into the fine areas. And then on the zoom, everything looks pretty good. It's really important that you zoom in on your photograph, especially if you're going to be enlarging this, because it's not so important when you're having the photograph kind of small, but when you're making it into a poster or enlarging the photograph, it's good to make sure that you zoom in to get everything, because once you enlarge it, it is going to show any imperfections. So I'm just going back around his ear here with a harder brush, just so that it looks a little bit more natural. Okay, so the last thing that I do is I'm not very happy with how this bottom part looks. It just kind of doesn't look very softened. So I'm going to soften that, select the mask, go over here and, actually it's not a brush, but it's going to the gradient tool right here. And I'm going to select the gradient that's got the black at the top and then the checkered gray checkers on the bottom, which means that it's going to reveal, it's going to erase it because that's the black, and then it's going to reveal whatever is behind it. So mask selected, gradient selected with the correct setting, and then I'm just going to go up, keep going up until I'm happy with the crop. And you kind of want it to be not such a sharp line on the bottom, because it's really going to not look natural once you set it up against the background that you like. So you see how this part right here is gradients into his face, that's what you're looking for. So you don't want something like this, and I'll just reveal it again. You don't want something that looks too hard. You want it to be gradient so that it's a soft transition up. Okay, so you can do the sides of his shoulders. Oops, sorry. Just undo if you make a mistake. And also Photoshop's got this history where you can go back several steps. It's a lifesaver. Has been for me anyways. Okay, so I see some of the backgrounds revealed right here because when I redid the gradient for you, I did too much of it. So it's not a problem. When you're working with mask, you can always go back and fix it. And that's why I like doing this technique with a mask, because if for some reason you make a mistake, it's very easy to undo it with the white reveal. If you didn't have this mask and you just went ahead and erased it, you can't go back and bring that. If you erase something, you can't go back and bring it, remake it appear because you've deleted it. I mean, you can go back to the history, but the history only goes back a certain number. So that looks pretty good. I'm happy with this, and I think that's what I'm going to use for my front cover of the program. So it looks good. Now what I'm going to do is save it. So you're going to unreveal the solid color that you just did. And when you do that, sometimes you can look back over the photograph and you see this part right here. It looks kind of black there. So I'm going to fix that up, and I'm just going to get rid of that. It was hard to see that because I had a black background to begin with in my solid color. But I'm just going to make a hard brush and eliminate that. And if you overdo it, like you go, oops, you can just hit Command Z on your keyboard, and it'll remove that one step back, that oops moment. So that's handy. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. Now I'm going to save it. And when you save it, you want to make sure your checkerboard background is showing, and that just means it's transparent. So you're going to do File, Save As. And it's important you save this as a PNG file right here. And you're just going to save it as man. Okay, and you know it's going to be a transparent background because of the PNG extension. If you save it as a JPEG, when you save it and you look at the JPEG file of this, it will have a white background on everything you just removed. If you want that, then by all means you can save it as a JPEG, but you won't be able to insert it into a document and then expect to see the background show behind that JPEG. So just for safety reasons, the catch-all would be to save it as a PNG file. So I'm going to go ahead and save that now on my desktop right quick. And on the PNG options, just choose Interlace None and hit OK. Okay, so that's done. Now the file is on my desktop. Here it is. Let's just double click to look at it. And it shows a gray background, but do you see some of these gray moments over here? That means that I didn't do quite a good job removing all of that background because there's still a little shadowing. So, and that's because I had a dark background when I was cutting around him. So now I'm going to go back into my Photoshop document and fix that. And I'm going to maybe use a lighter background. So I'll just go to lighter blue so I can see what I'm doing on his background. So you see now that I have a lighter blue, actually I think I'm even going to go lighter. I can see the shadowing that I missed, and it was hard to see that when I had a dark background. So I'll go back to my mask, hit the brush button in black, and make my brush larger, and go back and hit those spots in the background that I missed. And that happens to me a lot because I'm working with so many different background removals that sometimes I just save it and then I don't realize that I didn't remove everything because I had the wrong solid color background in there until I finish saving it, is when it shows me that I had an issue. So, okay, so that looks pretty good. I removed everything, and now I'm going to hide the background once again and then save it as a PNG file. Replace the one I have. Okay. And now we can take a look at it, and it looks pretty great. So now, actually there's a little tiny spot there, but I'm not going to go back over it since I've already kind of demonstrated how to do that for you. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, of course you would want to clean that up if you were doing it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a template and I'm going to insert it. So let me find a template. I'm going to insert it, show you how to insert the PNG file into your document so that it has a transparent background so you can see what it looks like once it's inserted. So here's one, and I'm going to be using Pages for this just because that's my software of choice. Okay, so here's a Pages template that I recently did for someone who wanted a custom. Her dad was a carpenter and she wanted a wood background set in the template. So I created this for her. So we'll just use this for the sake of demo. So here is the shape, and let's just use a square. You could use an oval if you want to, but for transparent backgrounds, photos with transparent backgrounds, I like to use a square, since really the box isn't going to be showing, so it doesn't really matter which one that you use. So I have the square. I'm going to take my PNG file from my desktop and just drag it over until I see these blue borders all the way around the perimeter of the square. That tells me it is selected, and then I'm just going to drop my shape in there, or my my PNG file. So you see it's huge every time it goes in there because the box is smaller. Then you have this little mask thing at the bottom of your box. Then you're just going to slide the slider down, and then your cursor turns into a cross as you go into the box, and you're just going to move it, center it as you like. You can even enlarge it as you like. So I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm going to fix this box just because it's too long and the photo's more shorter. So I'm going to double click that box, and then the long bar underneath it appears again. And I'm going to select the picture little thing here. And actually, no, I'm going to select the crop tool. And I'm just going to go over to this box until my cursor turns into a double arrow. And I'm going to just bring it in a little bit. Okay, so select anything to get out of it. Here's your photo. You can enlarge it now, and you see it has that transparent background. So this happens to be one of my gatefold templates, and it's a little bit too wide for this space of the photo. So what I would do is probably go back into Photoshop and remove the side, remove his shoulders a little bit more, and then reinsert this in here. But if you're using a traditional bifold, you're going to have 5.5 inches, so you will have plenty of room. You can enlarge this photo, and this photo would actually work fine in a bifold, but since I didn't have that for demonstration purposes, we're just going to use this template. So it would be like that. You can move it about and do whatever you'd like with it. So, and as you can see, it blends in seamlessly with the background, and it's beautiful. So you can pretty much put this on any background and make it work. So that's my demo today on how to clean up a background or remove a background from a loved one's photo so that you can make it transparent and insert it into any of our funeral program site templates. Of course, if you have any questions about this, you can always call our customer service support and we can help you further. But just wanted to give you a visual on how to do this. All right, thanks for watching, and you can download any of our ready-made templates from our website, funeralprogramsite.com. Take care. Bye.